Benjamin Franklin said after they ratified the Constitutional Convention that he said to a lady who asked him, what have you done? He said, we've given you a democracy if you can hold on to it. And that really is the challenge. You know, democracy really begins with people, with small groups of people who stand up and say, we're not going to allow this tyranny anymore. And American democracy happened when a handful of farmers, of dirt farmers with arcane weaponry from Concord, Massachusetts and Lexington, Massachusetts, confronted the largest superpower on the planet on a bridge in Concord, an empire upon which the sun never set, the largest empire in human history. And the unlikely result of that confrontation was that we won ourselves a country. And I don't underestimate the powers against which that are arrayed against us. And you know, corporate power of a kind that we haven't seen any time in American history, at least since the 1880s and 1890s. But you know, we lost democracy in the Gilded Age. And we won it back because there were a few courageous reporters like Ida Tarbell and Upton Sinclair. And there were a handful of courageous politicians led by Teddy Roosevelt who, you know, was willing to challenge the malefactors of great wealth. And they passed a series of laws that gave us back our democracy, the Sherman Antitrust Act, which started breaking up the big trusts, the graduated income tax that finally made corporations and the wealthy shoulder their fair burden of paying for the operations of our nation and our democracy. The laws that allowed labor unions to organize, which finally gave us a middle class in this country. A middle class where, you know, a single person with a job could support a family and send their kids to college and buy a house and live decent lives. And that gave us prosperity and stability that made this nation the envy of the rest of the world for the next 80 years. And perhaps the most important law they passed of all was a law that they passed in 1907 that forbade corporate contributions to the political process. And that law really helped put the bit in the mouth of corporate power, put the grip of the public's hand on the reins of corporate power for the next 5 generations. But last year, the United States Supreme Court, as part of a campaign that began during the Reagan era of dismantling the reforms of the populist era, the progressive era, the New Deal, and really all the way back to the Renaissance. You know, the Bush administration was really an attack on the Renaissance, on, you know, scientific thought and enlightenment, and we're seeing that assault in the latest battery in that assault has been the decision this year in the Citizens United case by the United States Supreme Court, which threw out 100 years of American law and allowed the tsunami of corporate money to flow now into the political process. And that really, in many ways, is, you know, the end of democracy in our country.